It's Wednesday, July 20th, and this is now on H&N.
For the first time, states will be able to use federal funds to pay for air conditioners in homes, set up community cooling centers in schools where people can get through these extreme heat crises.
President Biden announces modest climate actions and pledges more is to come.
Only two kinds of airline bags, carry-on and lost.
Rates of lost luggage are skyrocketing. What you can do to avoid the baggage blues on your next vacation.
We've heard about the heat waves on the mainland and in Europe, but China is also being hit hard.
Just sitting back and enjoying the show.
These stories plus the Na Hoku Hano Hano Awards return tonight. We got a preview coming up on This Is Now.
Good afternoon. So good to be back with you here in the H&N Digital Center. Let's get right to today's top story. You know, the city is now going to start benchmarking energy and water use in large buildings.
That's right. Honolulu Mayor Rick Blangiardi just signed Bill 22 into law a short time ago.
It's going to take a collaborative effort going forward. The fact of the matter is, we don't have options anymore.
Now, the owners of commercial and multifamily residential buildings must track and report their energy and water use over time. The reason? The city says this will reduce climate-changing carbon emissions and advance affordability and conserve resources.
Our fight against climate change issues, rising costs, affordability, all of these are very real. And it's something we live with each and every day. So we're excited about being able to take this kind of initiative, get the effort made that we needed to have at the right time.
The ordinance requires that commercial and multifamily buildings over 25,000 square feet in size must track and report their utility data to the city via a free online tool from the EPA used to manage and track building performances.
So starting next summer, buildings 100,000 square feet and above will start reporting, and bringing online buildings coming down to 25,000 square feet by the summer of 2025. We know that just this simple act of measuring can help you manage some of these costs. And this bill will have many impacts for different stakeholders across the island, whether it's building owners and operators who again can look at one of their biggest expenses and how they can cut waste and save on cost, whether it's tenants in those buildings, businesses or families in multifamily buildings looking to save on one of their utility costs, whether it's industry who work in this space looking at lighting, energy, HVAC, and how they can be part of their building owners' next steps beyond benchmarking to reduce energy and water use.
The Maui County Council has killed an affordable housing project in North Kihei. The Hale Vaipu'ilani project planned to have 28 units for sale with prices starting at $300,000. But neighbors were worried about potential flooding and traffic impacts. That's even though the county previously approved the project for its fast-track affordable housing process. Here's what Mayor Mike Victorino had to say about it on Sunrise.
And I wanted to ask you, were you sorry to see that go? Because I know the council, not you, the council decided to pull the plug on that project.
Well, they felt that it was in a flood zone. These were wetlands originally. Anytime you pull affordable housing out of the marketplace, it hurts everyone. And the county of Maui, like Oahu and other counties, are desperately in need. Yesterday, but we broke ground with the new Keawe apartments, 200 2, 3, and 4 bedroom apartments off of Keawe Street in Lahaina. And then also we blessed the new Kahuluilani, which was 168 units for elderly 1 and 2 bedroom for our kupuna. So we are working hard to get affordable housing, affordable rentals, but this was kind of a disappointment. But the council feels that that's what they need to do.
We need to act. We just take a look around.
President Biden unveiled new executive steps to tackle climate change. For more on that, let's bring in Hawaii News Now's White House correspondent, John Decker. Now, John, explain to us why the president is taking this action now.
The reason why is because his efforts in terms of moving legislation forward in Congress have been stymied. Why? Because of the 50-50 Senate, and one Senate Democrat in particular is not supportive of the president's legislative efforts on the issue of climate and global warming. That's Joe Manchin, Democratic senator from West Virginia. As a result, he realizes that he can do things by executive action. He did some small things today, announcing additional funding for wind farms along the Gulf of Mexico, and also funding to deal with climate in communities all across America, specifically dealing with the heating issue that we're dealing with in so much of the country right now. But nothing big. No announcement, Ashley, for instance, of a national emergency on climate announced by the president today.
All right, switching gears to Congress. Yesterday, the U.S. House passed a bipartisan bill to codify into federal law protections for same-sex and interracial marriages. Why was this introduced, and does it have a chance in the Senate?
It was introduced by Democrats and also supported by 36 House Republicans. And the reason being is because there is concern based upon the Supreme Court's action on the abortion issue that the same thing could happen on these two additional social issues. And to codify it into law is one way to essentially deal with the problem that the Supreme Court may have for these two issues down the road. It now goes to the Senate. You need 10 Republican votes in the Senate. I think they're going to get it. It's an election year. It's a political issue Republicans don't want to be on the wrong side of. And I think that this ultimately, within the next month or so, will be passed by the U.S. Senate. Don't have a date for when that vote will take place. Signed by the president once it gets on his desk as well.
Another big story tomorrow, the January 6th committee will be holding another prime time hearing. What can we expect from that?
This is a prime time hearing, perhaps the final hearing for the January 6th committee. We'll have to wait and see if they announce additional hearings beyond tomorrow night's hearing. For you, it's not in the evening, of course, that it will be aired given the time difference. But what is the focus? January 6th. Specifically, what was former President Trump doing during the course of that day? Who was he talking to? What was his mood? What were his communications? What was he doing and not doing while the attack on the Capitol was taking place? We're going to hear from a number of individuals, including the former Deputy National Security Advisor Matthew Pottinger, who resigned that day based upon the president's actions or inactions. And in addition to that, we're going to see more snippets of that sworn deposition that was videotaped of the White House counsel, Pat Cipollone, who was with President Trump during the course of that day and has essentially an insider's account in terms of what the president was doing, what the president was thinking over the course of those hours while the attack on the Capitol was taking place.
And John, we've seen those headlines about the Secret Service and these alleged deleted text messages. What's the latest on that?
Well, it's not alleged. They were indeed deleted, Ashley. The committee had requested, actually subpoenaed, all text messages from the Secret Service covering 2 days, January 5th and January 6th. And what they got, one text message that was saved. And the Secret Service says this was part of their normal functioning of migrating to a new system. That's the reason for the deletion. The National Archives has asked for a better explanation than that. But as it relates to these text messages that were subpoenaed, there will not be that evidence introduced by the committee tomorrow because they simply don't have that evidence.
All right, definitely going to be interesting. Hawaii News Now's White House correspondent John Decker, thanks for keeping us updated.
So I just got back from some traveling, and luckily I stuck with the carry-on, but I witnessed firsthand some of the baggage blues many travelers are dealing with. Here, check out this video I shot at Montreal's airport on Monday. We're seeing more and more images and video like this. It's being called lost luggage graveyards. According to the most recent air travel consumer report in April, nearly 220,000 bags were lost or damaged in the U.S., a jump of more than 135% since last year when fewer people were traveling. Here's some advice from CBS News senior travel advisor Peter Greenberg.
Well, my old advice, which predated the pandemic, was that there are only two kinds of airline bags, carry-on and lost. No more true than now. But if you're going to check bags, don't use connecting flights, meaning take your longest flight first to Europe or your longest flight first in the United States, and then when you get to that destination, it hasn't connected, then get off, get the bags, and either go by train or by car. Because it's the connecting flight issue that gets everybody in trouble because there are not enough baggage loaders or not enough baggage sorters.
Some good advice there from Peter, but what if you just have to check a bag? Experts say consider using a small GPS tracking device like those Apple AirTags. Remember to take a picture of your valuables inside and know your rights. This is really important. Not only are the airlines required to compensate you for lost bags, up to $3,800 for domestic flights and up to $1,780 for international flights, but they're also on the hook for any incidentals along the way. Got a lot more travel news to get to now. Here's Howard Dykes with a look at how those Japanese arrival numbers are doing these days.
I thought I would give you the daily arrivals counts for each day of the past week. On Wednesday, for example, 873 people flew here on flights from Japan. These arrivals counts include flight crews, pilots, flight attendants, returning locals, people who are going to stay in the airport and transfer to another flight. This is everybody who was on the plane. Thursday, and this was the first Thursday since COVID that we've seen this, more than 1,000 people came here. Friday, 995. Saturday, 1,000. We've had more than 1,000 people each of the last 3 Saturdays. Sunday, only 771. Monday, only 751. Yesterday, only 682, 682 that is, rather. Now, these numbers are improvements, but they are only a fraction of what we used to get before COVID. So we keep talking about pent-up Japan demand. That's hard to say. But we're not seeing that pent-up demand. What we're seeing is a small incremental increase. So this is not really helping us so far in terms of economic requirements. And it's too bad because we love Japanese guests. They don't stay very long. They spend a lot. They're more likely to stay in hotels. And they are predominantly repeat visitors who totally get Hawaii and are good to the state.
As we've been reporting for weeks now, summer air travel has been riddled with flight cancellations and high prices.
Well, the travel industry sinks or swims based on forward-looking bookings and advanced bookings. And if you look at the entire chart, starting, let's say, in the middle of July all the way through the end of the year, where it spikes the most is the second week in August. And it'll go down, of course, after Labor Day.
So here's the good news. As the calendar shifts to the traditionally slower fall travel season, there are some deals out there for travel to and from the West Coast to Hawaii in September and October. The travel website The Points Guy reports that fares that were previously in the $775 range for round trips from the West Coast to the Aloha State are now being offered as low as $237 for basic economy fares. I checked out to see what fares are looking like for travel from the islands. Here's what I found. Check this out. From Honolulu to LAX, get this $266 round trip on Hawaiian Airlines for travel on the dates of September 29th to October 6th. I also found from H&L to San Fran for around $375 for those same travel dates on United Airlines. Fares to Las Vegas are finally starting to drop a bit. I found this one for $328 on United from Maui. And on Southwest, I found a Kona to LA flight for the same September-October dates for just over $300. By the way, I used Google Flights to find those fares. Also keep in mind those rules that come with those basic economy fares and that airline prices are in flux all the time. So if you see something that looks like a good deal, you may want to grab it.
Around 120 million Americans, that's more than a third, are facing excessive heat warnings and advisories today. And it's no better in Europe. Unheard of temperatures and drought conditions are generating devastating wildfires. And in China, no exception. While the south of the country did see some brief respite thanks to rains, the heat wave nationwide still continues. Selena Wang has more.
The heat wave continues across China, but rain showers through the south are expected to slightly cool the weather, but only briefly. More than 30 cities have issued an orange alert, meaning temperatures are expected to reach 98 degrees Fahrenheit. Only one city in Xinjiang issued a red alert, meaning temperatures are expected to reach 104 degrees. Now compare that to last week, when more than 80 cities issued red alerts, with some logging temperatures of more than 110 degrees Fahrenheit. But China's Meteorological Administration says this relief will be short-lived, and they expect the heat to crank up again in southern China tomorrow and then later in the north. Now, this heat wave has been ferocious. According to state media, by mid-July, the heat wave engulfed half the country and impacted more than 900 million people. That is more than 60% of China's population. This is all part of the global trend of more extreme weather driven by climate change. It is not just heat, but also flooding in China. Flooding in recent months have displaced more than 1 million people and destroyed crops in central and southwest China. The crop damage threatens to push up inflation. And it is bad news for an economy already battered by the pandemic. The heat wave has also pushed up electricity demand to extreme levels as people turn up the air conditioning. For instance, Zhejiang province, a major manufacturing powerhouse, urged its 65 million residents and businesses to save power. And all of this coming as COVID cases are rising in China. The snap lockdowns and mass testing continues across the country, even in this scorching weather. There have also been growing reports of COVID workers collapsing in the heat, and residents across the country are still required to wait in long lines for their regular COVID tests, even under the brutal temperatures. Selena Wang, CNN, Beijing.
Oof. We got even more news regarding that extreme heat. I have a live picture coming into the H&N Digital Center right now. This is from North Texas, our sister station KTVT. That's in the Dallas area. I'm going to their website right now. I don't have an exact location on this brush fire that firefighters are dealing with right there, but I've seen planes in the air working to put it out, and we also see a lot of smoke going into the air. All their website says right now there at KTVT is constant wildfires and extreme heat taking a toll on first responders in Texas. And as we've seen in several past news stories, that's happening in so many places around the world right now, except for here where we actually have some beautiful weather. Let's turn things over to Guy Hoggy with an update on that.
We've got the breezy trade winds, and the breezy trade winds are here to stay for the duration of the forecast. Where we're thinking the next 7 days, they'll be running about 15 to 20 miles an hour. So humidity, air quality, not going to be issues anytime soon. Although over in the Kona side, they're likely to get air quality issues because they won't get those breezy trade winds. So over the next 7 days, the weather's not going to change very much. So what we see today will likely repeat over the next several days with very little changes. If we see any rain, it'll be limited to those windwarded Mauka areas early in the morning, and then in the overnight hours, rainfall totals will be light. Sunshine will be in abundance, and the next swell is coming in for the South Shore sometime early next week.
The Nahoku Hanohano Awards are tonight. Here's Billy V with a preview and a special guest.
Thank you very much. If we're talking about the Nahoku Hanohano Awards, then let's talk to the president of the Hawaii Hawaii Academy of Recording Arts, Amy Hanaile'i.
Hi, good morning. Aloha.
Thank you for being with us this morning. First of all, being part of the Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement Convention, how is this partnership and how do you see this? Are you happy? You must be ecstatic.
Totally ecstatic. I mean, first of all, I don't think I've ever seen this many Hawaiians in Waikiki all at one time, which is super exciting. Kuhio Lewis and I have been in talks with having CNHA help present Nahoku Hanohano Awards. It makes perfect sense because of the Native Hawaiian Advancement Convention going on, so we're super excited, yeah.
Talk about, there's been a whole bunch of releases that have come out. You've got a whole bunch of nominees. You're getting set for tonight. Give us a little bit of a preview, and how excited are you for tonight's show?
super excited for tonight. We've got a lot of surprises that are going to happen, some beautiful, beautiful tearing moments on stage with some of the older legends and the younger, So, but it's been wonderful. I mean, through the pandemic, our artists, we have over 500 artists on our academy. They've actually written more music through the pandemic, through the 2 years, and launching it now. So music is just flourishing.
What is the state of Hawaii's music industry at this time?
I think it's, we've slowly been coming back. We've been trying to get our entertainers through the pandemic. We started the Kokua Entertainers Fund that we still have if anybody wants to Kokua. Just trying to get the state acclimated with bringing our entertainers back into our venues.
Would you like to see more of them in places like Waikiki, perhaps?
That would be wonderful. We are the soundtrack of Hawaii, yeah.
Very good. And then finally, let's talk about you for a little bit. You always have music there in the forefront, but are you doing any traveling coming up, and what's new with Amy?
Well, we're trying to get really skinty right now because we are heading to Paris, Milan, and France Fashion Week in Europe with my cousin Kumu Maika Kamuhoali'i, who just opened his 2 stores in Pro Ridge and Windward Mall. So we're excited about that. And then I come home and then I go out on tour on the West Coast.
Okay, so just a reminder, she's going to be very, very busy tonight. Do you get to sit back and relax and enjoy the show at all?
I actually do. I'm just giving a couple speeches and I'm just sitting back and enjoying the show.
45th Annual Nahoku Hanahana Awards, Hawaii Ballroom. The broadcast starts at 7. The pre-broadcast starts at 5:30. More information, go to our website at hawaiinewsnow.com.
All right, thanks, Billy. Excited about that. Let's see what else the internet is talking about today. I haven't gotten to say that in a little while, and I missed it. All right, and I talked to my mom about this today because I asked her to put in my lucky numbers. That's because this is your shot if you live on the mainland in many states for a Mega Million Super Jackpot. The jackpot has skyrocketed to $630 million. Wow. Imagine that. Yeah, that's what most of us are going to have to do, just dream about it. It's a cash prize worth more than $360 million if you take the cash option. No one matched the 6 numbers yesterday's drawing, so the next drawing is Friday. So far, there have been 3 other jackpots awarded this year. The highest ever before was $426 million.
Ooh, good luck to you.
Crossing my fingers, Mom. Crossing my fingers.
Yeah, Justin Bieber, you guys, getting back to his world tour. If you remember, the singer paused the tour last month due to Ramsay-Hunt syndrome, an illness that left him unable to move half of his face. Now, Bieber will kick things back off on July 31st in Italy with a string of European festivals. Details of postponed U.S. tour dates are expected to be announced very soon. Now, the singer has been suffering from the rare neurological syndrome caused by the same virus that can cause chickenpox and shingles, but he says he is improving every day.
Go Justin. Good to hear that update.
Yeah.
A lot of people worried about him. All right, so one more story from me. This is an update for one of those auction stories we were talking about earlier this year. There were plenty of bidders that wanted Marilyn Monroe's embellished gown from the movie There's No Business Like Show Business. It was the top-selling item at Julian's auction that they teamed up with Turner Classic Movies for. It was called the Hollywood Legends auction. It fetched $220,000, which is a lot, and a lot more than the pre-auction estimate of $80,000.
Wow.
Yeah, I expected it to go even further than that. I just thought there was so much buzz about Marilyn. I thought it was just going to go boom, super
almost triple.
Yeah, I guess it did get a lot, and no telling what the condition. And it also, all that talk, like we talked about before with the Kim Kardashian dress, thought maybe just a little bit more.
It's pretty.
It was really pretty. I wonder if it came with that headdress, because that was impressive too. All right, guys, that's going to do it for This Is Now. Ashley's going to be back first at 4 on KHNL. A lot of updates coming into our newsroom today, so catch up on all the details on all of them at first at 4. Again, on KHNL. You can also listen to our podcast anywhere you find your podcasts. Just search Hawaii News Now. Have a good one.
Welcome back, John.
Thank you.